555 Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Do you want to talk more Jaguars football today?
It appears from the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which has finally loaded on my laptop, by the way, that we need to give more analysis. There are other sports. So
No, there's no other sports.
Yeah.
Football
Football
only.
is the sport.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it is October, so I guess basketball's starting soon, so at least we have that going for us. But yeah, no, go for it, Lauren.
I got, by the way, I forgot to mention this last week, I got tickets for Brandon and my parents and I to go to Florida versus USF, the men's basketball game, to kick off the season here
There
in
we go.
Jacksonville.
Now
love
we're
it.
talking. Love that.
Since certainly men's basketball for Florida last year made the postseason and the football team did not. But we'll certainly talk much more about that Florida UCF game as the week continues because that's a big one coming up Saturday night. But let's talk some NFL, some Jaguars football. Which team having the record that they have, the Vikings at 4-0, the Jaguars at 0-4, is more surprising? Taylor, I'll ask you, since you're certainly the most familiar with that division, the NFC North, of anyone in this building. Is it the Vikings at 4-0 when they finished the season at 7-10 last year, or the Jaguars at 0-4 when they finished the season 9-8?
I think the more shocking one is the Jags, where they are at. I think that last year, obviously, the Vikings lost Kirk Cousins, and that just killed their offense completely. And so most people didn't think Sam Darnold would be playing at the level that Sam Darnold would be playing.
If only they had Sam Darnold last year.
Yeah,
Cousins
I know.
went
That
down.
could have helped them. But it is a testament to KOC. We've talked about him a ton and how everything just feels like it does still work no matter what. They weren't even a hot mess last year, and they were just they had no quarterback. I mean, they were just trying to kind of figure things out and get along, and they still won 7 games. So if you win 7 games with a team that is quarterbackless pretty much, then you are decent, and I feel like the defense is playing even better. We've talked about Brian Flores and how well he's been. He's able to just confuse offenses so much that the Vikings just have it made perfectly right now because you have a guy in Justin Jefferson who is just a cheat code when it comes to everything he does. So it's really easy for your offense to be successful, especially when you have a play caller that can design things the way that they can in Minnesota. So to me, it's the Jags because I think that this start for the Vikings, I could have guessed they would start hot before I would guess that the Jags wouldn't have a win through 4 weeks.
See, Mia, the one thing about the Jags schedule, starting with 4 playoff teams from a year ago, that was going to be tough sledding. And the Jaguars didn't finish the season well at all, as we know. So that's why I wonder if you can look at it like that, too, is some people nationally probably would have said it's going to be tough for the Jaguars to win a game in the first month.
Right, and not even nationally. I mean, Rick Ballou, who's going to join us here coming up a little bit later in the 12 o'clock hour to talk Knowles, he did predict the Jaguars to start 1-3. I know there's a lot of Jaguar fans listening in Heeligan Nation right now who also predicted that the Jaguars would go 1-3. Probably not 0-4. I know there are some 0-4s though out there as well.
I think I did have 1-3, honestly.
Right.
I also thought the Browns would be way better than they are, and Dolphins would be way better than they are, and the Texans would be way better than they are. So you've also lost to teams that, were playoff contenders, but are not now.
And I'm glad you brought up the Dolphins, Taylor, because that's really where we should start today's program with the most recent game that occurred in the game of football across the country, which was last night, Monday Night Football, those 2 Monday Night Football games. And I wonder, because one of my friends texted me and was joking in jest, but said something about, well, when Mike McDaniel comes to Jacksonville to fix Trevor Lawrence, and I said, Mike McDaniel's not going anywhere. They like him in Miami.
Yeah, they love him.
And then I was watching that game last night and couldn't help but come away from this idea of, wow, Tua Tagovailoa has been knocked his entire NFL career for being just a guy, for being a system guy.
For being injury prone, too.
Also, what? Right, but to that point, Lauren, you put in another quarterback and suddenly the entire offensive operation ceases to exist in Miami despite having this transcendent play caller, despite having the guy who developed the run game that is used by Kyle Shanahan, not only in Atlanta, but then in San Francisco as well. Like, that did pop into my brain last night, and that's not to say Mike McDaniel is on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat. But it does bring into question, are we going to give the Dolphins a pass for a 1-3 start simply because Tua Tagovailoa got hurt.
Yes, because they're on their third quarterback.
Correct.
I mean, you couldn't. The Jags would be even worse if Mac Jones was in right now. And we've said that for the people shouting for Mac Jones. All of us would agree that it wouldn't look better.
I don't even know who the third quarterback would be. Because
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not here right now. He actually just got an invitation to go up to the Giants camp.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, we're talking about a guy that's not even on the roster right now that would have to be starting. And it was when you look at Miami, not only are they on their backup, you're on your third string quarterback who also probably had barely any snaps with anybody that is starting on this roster right now. And so that hurts. That hurts in offense. And especially a lot of the praise we would give Mike McDaniel too were just that he was so good at building things around Tua Tagovailoa. He knows Tua so well inside and out. He knows how to game plan so perfectly around his strengths and avoid anything that he may have issues with. And when you don't have that, you're not familiar with the quarterback in that aspect, it is going to look a lot different. And I think that when you're having to completely change your entire offense because you're on your third guy.
So let's now go back to the Cleveland Browns.
But real quick, it's going to be fascinating when Tua comes back, assuming he comes back, which I think he will. If their offense looks just the way it did before he got injured.
But even week one, it wasn't
like
great. It took almost 3 quarters for them to get going week one. So, I mean, I think that they were already in this phase of figuring it out because I think that maybe some teams had started to, like, Tyreek Hill's the guy, like, try not to let Tyreek burn you with all of these yards and maybe you can figure out the Miami offense.
So let's go back to the Cleveland Browns now. If you look right now, MyBookie, BetOnline, a lot of sports books around the country, they've sent out their odds for the first coach to be fired. And Kevin Stefanski is hovering around the top 5, top 10 best odds of any coach to be fired. That is in spite of what he did last year when he lost his quarterback, had 4 different starting quarterbacks that, let me tell you one thing, I don't think Joe Flacco and Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Deshaun Watson are playing the same style of offense.
Yeah.
And he was able to adapt, and yet 1 year later now he's on the hot seat.
Flacco, to me, and I'm surprised that the Browns let him go to the Colts, Flacco might be a better quarterback even in his older age than Deshaun Watson is.
Yeah,
once Deshaun Watson missed all that time, once he had all that off the field stuff, he's not a good quarterback, which honestly can make things a little depressing here in Jacksonville because you did lose to a Browns team that's just 1-3. You lost to the Dolphins, who, yes, they don't have Tua, but they're just 1-3. And then you lost to a Texans team that, to me, is playing terrible football, yet they still found a way to win.
But here's the thing. It was a long, winding road to Joe Flacco. They went through 3 quarterbacks before they got to Joe Flacco. And so that's why I bring up the Miami game last night, the view of these 1-3 teams, the view of these 4-0 teams, what's great coaching, what is not, because that's an example of a coach who was able to adapt.
I do think the 2 differences there, though, are the defense. The Browns had one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL last season. And when you're able to force a ton of turnovers, when you're able to get your quarterback in good field position, no matter who that is, that helps. Miami let the Titans just score 31 points on them. So that is not an ideal situation for a third-string quarterback in an offense trying to make things work.
And to bring it back to the Jaguars, that goes to identity. What is the Miami Dolphins' identity? Because I don't think it's their defense, although I applaud Mike McDaniel and the organization down there in South Florida for going out and hiring Anthony Weaver, trying to bring in an infusion of that Ravens defense at the helm to try to create some sort of physicality, bringing in guys like Calais Campbell. But ultimately, what is their identity? Speed.
Yeah.
Finesse. And when you still have the speed, but you can't get them the football.
Yeah. There's an issue.
What are you left with?
Also, by the way, it was Mason Rudolph. And that I feel like is wild to me because Mason Rudolph was just, we saw moments in Pittsburgh where people were like, okay, because there was this carousel of quarterbacks for them the last few years. And you come in and you let Mason Rudolph do that to you in a game where they have to bench Will Levis. He's like crying, poor Will. I was like, this guy is having a rough night. He has already just through 4 games, like people were posting the pictures from each of the 4 games.
Oh, he's the king of the meme.
Yeah, because he had against the Bears one, it was when he was on his knees with his hands above his head, just freaking out. The other one was just his diving when he was trying to dive for the first down and the ball flies out of his hand. And then he has this one where he's crying on looks like he's using the bathroom on the sideline pretty much. And I'm like, poor Will. But Mason Rudolph comes in, and that's the thing. If you want to talk about an offense that kind of goes to QB2 and gets better, it looks like, it might be this situation.
Well, and certainly whenever there's a young quarterback, which Levis played some certainly last year, but he also has been injury prone.
Yeah.
Sometimes a guy with more experience under his belt is going to look better. And that's what I'm afraid of circling back to the Jaguars in this Sunday is if it's Joe Flacco and not Anthony Richardson. Here's a stat that Mike DeRocco had that I saw that really upset me as far as the Jaguars are concerned. They rank 29th in quarterback pressures and 29th in pressure percentage. Of all the things that have gone wrong so far through the first 4 weeks of the season, the offensive issues we have detailed ad nauseum. But how can a trio of Eric Armstead, Josh Hines-Allen, and Trayvon Walker be 29th in QB pressures and 29th in pressure percentage? How is that possible when it seems like, or I thought at least, that there was a ton of talent there and that Trayvon Walker was really going to take that huge step forward after a good season last year? That, to me, is, in addition to all the offensive woes, another reason that they're 0-4.
Yeah, because especially the way it seemed like it was starting, it felt like it's okay. The offense doesn't have to be perfect. We can give Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr. and figure out this run game a little bit. You don't have to start hot because the defense will be able to create these pressures and get some turnovers and get sacks and get you good field position. And they just haven't been able to do that. Like, I didn't know when we were talking about like the 30th year, we'd be 30th in everything.
Yeah, good call. All right, when we come back, we will chat with Rick Ballou. We'll talk Seminoles and we'll continue the Jaguars conversation as well. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday. You can give them a call at 904-296-0202 today or visit them online, activehealthjacks.com. They will help you navigate your pain, and that way they can correct it, and you will be pain-free moving forward. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
A sturdy defense keeps your end zone safe like a Superior fence keeps your family and pets safe.
It's fantastic.
After the game, catch the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game.
What a baller.
On 1010XL.
Now at Hodges Mazda, get ready for an incredible offer and drive home the 2024 Mazda CX-5 with 0% APR for 36 months. Lauren Brooks here. The Mazda CX-5 combines sleek design, advanced technology, and a responsive drive, making it the ideal SUV for your everyday adventures. Discover the Hodges Mazda difference with the non-commissioned sales team who are always focused on putting your best interests first. Plus, you'll get 2 years of free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com. See dealer for details. Terms and fees for qualified applicants. Expires October 1st, 2024.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
Want to make sure he gets to the game on time?
Tommy, your uniform is ready. Let's go.
Install a natural gas dryer, and you're guaranteed faster drying times and softer laundry. And now you can earn a valuable cash rebate up to $200 on an energy-efficient natural gas dryer. Show your home love with natural gas, and it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Poker players, brace yourselves. The World Poker Tour storms into Best Bet Jacksonville October 31st to November 19th, and the forecast calls for massive prize pools. Event 1 has a cool $200,000 guarantee. Event 6, a downpour of $300,000. And the main event, a flood of a $1 million guarantee. WPT Championship satellites are already brewing. Don't get left high and dry. Head to bestbetjacks.com for details. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Dailies Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Dailies is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to bring your friends out and enjoy our spectacular golf course, which is carved out of some of the highest elevations in North Florida. Hidden Hills Golf Club, unlike any other. Check us out, hiddenhillsgc.com.
Tony Baselli gets up early Monday morning to share a big football breakfast with you.
Some French toast and sausage patties.
Hall of Fame Mondays, 7:20 with Dan and Jeff on the Drill. Brought to you by Heritage Roofing of North Florida on 1010XL.
This is David Lane. After suffering through several painful injuries to my shoulder, back, and knees, I've taken my issues to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, and without fail, they've been a tremendous help towards solving my problems. If you have any orthopedic situations, don't procrastinate. Take action today. Give those aches and pains to the pros at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. You'll be glad you did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Mia here. The name to remember this hurricane season is Pro Jax Roofing. Your neighbors have relied on Mike for 25 years to repair or replace their roofs. When you call Pro Jax Roofing, you only talk to Mike. No expensive salespeople. You always get the best price for your project. For the lowest insurance rates, a free wind mitigation report is always given with your roof replacement. Pro Jax Roofing wishes you a safe hurricane season. And if needed, Mike is here to help. Call today for a free estimate or go online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Clean air, cool air, both are extremely important. Trust Florida Home AC to deliver on both with their REME Halo, the next generation of air quality technology. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and breathe clean and cool air.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
Firefighters, paramedics, police officers. They take care of us, and at AMCO, we're proud to take care of them. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. As an essential business, we work on every kind of car repair with flexible financing and extra safety precautions. Essential, reliable, trusted. That's the men and women who are there for us, and it's our honor to be there for them. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia. AMCO Transmissions and Total Car Care.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now, the Seminole Point of View with Rick Ballou. Brought to you by Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard. Dream it, drive it.
Welcome back to Helmets and Heels. Rick Ballou joins us now. Rick, let's talk about the quarterback position. DJ Uyunglele now has the injury to his throwing hand, and Brock Glenn perhaps may come in and get the start against Clemson. What do you expect there?
I don't expect much. Brock Glenn, he's been the people's choice really since about midway through the opener in Dublin against Georgia Tech. And, the bottom line is he hasn't gotten it done in practice. He doesn't throw a good ball. They threw him in there on Saturday. He only had 4 attempts, but they were not pretty footballs. And I wouldn't expect anything better. I mean, the fact that DJ Uyunglele has been in there is because he's better than Brock Glenn. So the one thing Glenn gives you is the ability to escape the pocket. He's a mobile guy. He's got some quicks in him. But this guy's confidence is completely rattled after they, threw him into the situation in the Orange Bowl against Georgia. Now they have arguably coming into town one of the, if not the most improved team in college football after getting, destroyed by Georgia in week 1, Clemson. They've played much better football the last month. So I don't think it's going to be any better for Brock Glenn, but I think this is the way to look at it if you're a Florida State fan. Get him in there, then see that he can't play, then understand that he's not the answer as well. So it's Luke Kromenhoek is part of your future, or you better go out there and bring in some more quarterbacks, because I think what you'll end up seeing is that this is it for DJ Uiagalelei, and it's also the end for Brock Glenn.
So let me ask you this, Rick, because at 1-4, and at least from boots on the ground for me in Tallahassee, the season's all but lost. So shouldn't you just be trotting Luke Kromenhoek out there, the true freshman out of Savannah, and just seeing what he can provide for you? Or is there something else at play here, and that's why Brock Glenn is the quarterback, at least as of right now?
Yeah, and that's what I hope. And, I don't know if it's this Saturday, but I think it's eventually down the road that is going to be the case. I mean, I only saw him practice for 2 days here in Jacksonville, and I thought without any question Kromenhoek threw the best football. But, he's a younger guy. Obviously, he's a true freshman. He's got to put on some weight. He doesn't have the experience. And, Brock Glenn has been in this system for a couple of years, so he's going to be the guy who's going to get the nod. But I think that's best case scenario for Florida State fans is that, DJ leaves after this year. Brock Glenn, you find out he can't play, let him hit the transfer portal. And then you go with Luke Kromenhoek, and, they got the kid out of Mandarin who's injured right now, who's coming in as a true freshman. They also have Tavares Jackson, who's a backup right now at Florida State. But, this is really problematic because if you look at Jordan Travis and what he did, it was absolutely incredible. But if you look at every other quarterback that Mike Norvell has had since he was at Florida State, he hasn't developed any of them. And that's a concern. He's supposed to be an offensive mind and a quarterback type of coach, and it just hasn't worked out so far for him.
Rick, it's probably not the week to talk about it because of how Clemson's defense plays, but do you see any way that Florida State can get their run game going at all? I know there was a little bit of it against Cal, but it was Cal.
No, and they were fourth worst in college football going into the matchup against SMU. They averaged 67.5 yards a game. They picked up 75 Saturday night in Dallas. They cannot run the football, and that's the only way you're going to beat Clemson is to try to slow things down a little bit and put together these long drives, and they just can't do it. Florida State right now is 14 for 52 in offensive drives. Think about that. 8 touchdowns, 6 field goals, 14 for 52, 26.9%. It's among the worst in all of college football. They have 13 turnovers. They can't run the ball. And even in games in which they've been trailing, where you would think that their opponent would be on their heels a little bit and give up, what's in front of them, Florida State is in a pattern right now where they've gone 8 consecutive games where they haven't been able to pick up 300 total yards of offense. That is absolutely, totally abysmal. 8 straight games where they can't pick up 300 yards of offense. I mean, we're talking about Florida State here. So, they can't score. They can't move the ball. This is the worst case scenario for them. This is a hungry Clemson team. You remember how they lost last year. It was a very tight ball game that went into overtime and Florida State won. So it's going to be a long evening in God's country.
Certainly it might be. Dabo Swinney, I saw him answer a question about Florida State, and of course a few years ago FSU decided not to have that game against Clemson during COVID. Do you think that Dabo harbors any of that?
I think it's a good talking point. I don't think they need any more motivation, but that'll certainly provide it. I think last year's game is enough. And, let's face the facts. Clemson is the better team. I mean, we'll find out about Duke. They're off to an undefeated start. Florida State gets them a week from Friday night. But, it feels like we're headed towards a collision course here with Miami and Clemson, who do not face one another this year in the regular season. So they'll meet for the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game. Maybe a little spark. I'm sure they printed that out and dropped it at everyone's locker just to remind those players as to what happened a couple of years ago. But I don't think Clemson is going to need any motivation. It's still Florida State. They're still going into that building. So even though Florida State's down, I think Clemson will be totally fired up for the game.
Rick Ballou joining us on the Garber Automall Hotline, talking Noles. The Noles, of course, will be hosting Clemson this Saturday evening in God's country. Rick, the heralded Florida State defensive front has obviously been a disappointment this year. I think the secondary, though, was also something that was promised that at least has shown some returns. What do you make of the state of that defense out in Tallahassee as they get ready for this battle with the Tigers?
Well, the one position group you didn't mention was linebackers, and that was obviously their Achilles heel. And it has not been a good start to the season for them. The secondary has been a disappointment, but I think you touched upon it. They're just not getting pressures. They're not getting what you wanted from Marvin Jones Jr. and Patrick Payton. Payton played well against Cal 2 weeks ago. Josh Farmer did as well, and certainly in that fourth quarter in their only victory against Cal, Marvin Jones Jr. had a very good fourth quarter where he picked up a couple of sacks. But in the other four games, it hasn't worked out well for that defensive line. And, we've talked about it with the Jaguars over the years. If you're not getting pressure on quarterbacks, I don't care how good you are in the secondary, you're going to get picked apart. I do think that A.Z. Thomas is an NFL player. I think Shaheem Brown is a strong safety, is an NFL player. They've had problems at nickel. I thought that Earl Little Jr., the transfer from Alabama, would come in and really take over that role. He is not. They've gone with the veteran Kevin Knowles, who's been beaten, just pretty much all the time. Fentrell Cypress is a guy that there was some talk maybe a year ago. He would go to the NFL draft. He came back. He's a transfer from Virginia. He has not played well. I still think Quindarius Jones is the answer there on the other side of corner. So, a long-winded answer. It's been a disappointment. I think part of it is the scheme. I think the other part of it is they're just not getting any pass rush pressure. Therefore, the contain has given up a lot of big plays.
Rick, what are your thoughts on Cade Klubnik when it comes to the offense so far and how he's kind of handling it there in Clemson?
Much improved. I mean, he looked terrible against Georgia. They only went over the 50-yard line twice. Georgia was completely dominant in that performance. And you hear coaches all the time say the biggest improvement we'll make as a football team is between week 1 and week 2. But Klubnik has really settled down. Phil Maffa is a tremendous back, and he's getting basically all the carries now, which he split, over the last couple of years. He's got young, talented wide receivers, and Clemson's lost so much off their defense the last couple of years, but they're really starting to reap the benefits of guys who have been in the program for years. I mean, you look at their front four; they've got a couple of seniors there. Their linebacking core has got a couple of seniors there, guys who didn't play necessarily early, but stayed within the program. We know that Dabo Swinney is he doesn't use the transfer portal like these other colleges that we do talk about. So Klubnik got off to maybe the worst start that anyone could in week 1, but he has been much improved. And, he's a guy who can make the passes. He's also a guy, when asked, can tuck the ball and pick up yards with his feet.
So, Rick, when it comes to the Jaguars, we talk about, is it the coaches, is it the players who should shoulder the most blame? How do you feel about that? I mean, Mike Norvell on some ESPN lists ahead of the season was a top 5 college football coach. Is it the coaches or the players?
Well, the easy answer is both, but I'm more on the coaches. I think they are, I think significant changes have to be made. Florida State has arguably the best punter and kicker combination in college football, yet their special teams are absolutely atrocious. I know you ladies watched the game. They forced a 3-and-out when they were getting back in it. They got a defensive face mask off the line of scrimmage on a punt, okay? And so in my world, that's a turnover. You're getting the ball back at your own 40-yard line. You force SMU to go 3-and-out. You get a defensive face mask on a punt. It is absolutely absurd. And then, they snapped the ball over the punter's head at SMU after Florida State ran consecutive quarterback sneaks, both on 3rd down and 4th down, very similar, by the way, to what Trevor Lawrence did on his 4th down sneak. It just there's no explanation for it. And because of the punt, that it becomes a kickoff, which basically is a punt, a safety kickoff. There's not a SMU player within 15 yards of Keziah Holmes. and the man calls a fair catch. I mean, how does that happen? You've got 50.
Did the there he is.
I've never seen a fair catch on a punt, on a safety punt. So it's just one thing after another. Adam Fuller's terrible. He should have been fired 3 years ago. Ronnie Dugans was such a great football player at Florida State as a wide receiver. Florida State produces 0 wide receivers. And don't Keon Cole me or Johnny Wilson me, because they came from Michigan State and Arizona State. Florida State produces 0 wide receivers. Miami does. Florida does. All the schools around them do. There's so much speed and talent in this state, yet Florida State can't coach them up when they get them. So my answer is I'd fire every coach on this staff. They can't fire Mike Norvell because they owe him $65 million. He's a marriage that, it's like you can fire Billy Napier, you can fire Doug Peterson. You're married to Trevor Lawrence for at least 5 more years with that 6.5-year contract he has left. You can't fire Mike Norvell. You married him, and you have him for at least 5, maybe 6 more years.
Your call briefly dropped as you were discussing Isaiah Holmes at length, Rick. And honestly, Taylor, Lauren, and I looked at each other and we were like, my goodness, the gods in God's country have taken Rick from us because they've striked down because they said, no, you're not allowed to bash the special teams because punting is winning and justice for Fitzy too.
Yeah, unbelievable. Well, what I said is that it was a free kick.
Oh yeah, no, we ended up getting most of your most of it. Yeah, no, but it was a brief drop off.
You know me, it was my best moment in the history of radio, 33 plus years, and it got dropped off.
Well, most importantly, Rick, I'm about to text Trent, our content producer, because, your point about the marriage between Florida State and Mike Norvell and the marriage between the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, I think that's the best way you can put it right now. I had multiple people in Houston this weekend ask me, is Mike Norvell going to get fired? And the answer is no, for the same reason that Trevor Lawrence is not going anywhere in Jacksonville.
And I think the difference there is that Trevor, I still think, has a chance. Mike Norvell cannot coach. And Florida State fans, I was on him when he got there. I still haven't gotten over them not playing a prevent defense against Jacksonville State. Others can turn the page and move on with their wonderful lives. But people like me can't get over that. You cannot lose to Jacksonville State the way that they did by playing a regular, their 4-2-5 regular set defense and not going to prevent. I do not think that Mike Norvell is a good coach. He had an unbelievable quarterback in Jordan Travis. Outside of that, he has been a colossal failure at Florida State.
All right, Rick. Well, we appreciate the insight as always.
It's always happy to be with you girls when Florida State's playing such great football. Thank you as always.
They call him the truth teller for a reason, folks. Ain't that the truth, Lauren and Taylor?
Yeah, look, it could get really ugly, like you said, in Tallahassee Saturday night. All right, when we come back, we will continue the football conversation. You're listening to 10 to XL, 92.5 FM. It's Helmets and Heels on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Mia O'Brien here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. If water flows through it, the team at Duck Duck can install it or repair it. From septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, clog drains, water heaters to repipes, they do it all. And they do it well. But don't just take my word for it. Check out the reviews on Google and see what customers just like you are saying about their experience with Duck Duck Rooter. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit duckduckrooter.com to schedule service today.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed is taking action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit, lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. That means this is the best chance in 2 years to do a cash-out refi and unlock all that equity at an amazing rate. Loan Pronto has fixed loans under 5% APR, the lowest in 2 years. You can get a fast refi and get $50,000 to $75,000, even $100,000 in cash. Use it to pay off all your credit cards, personal loans, car loans. You'll end up with one payment each month. And for most homeowners, they save over $850 every month. If you want to keep your original mortgage intact, ask about the Loan Pronto Express Equity Line of Credit. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. So call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. 999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781.
Hello, I'm Jerry Holland, Duval County Supervisor of Elections. Are you ready for the presidential election? The clock is ticking. In Florida, you must register to vote 29 days before an election, which is Monday, October 7th. Please check your voter information before voting. If you've moved, visit us at northfloridavotes.com and update your address. Remember also, avoid the long lines on Election Day and vote early. Check your sample ballot for the nearest location. We'll see you at the polls.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
15,000 workers. I'm Brian Rose from Remedy Staffing. We survey 15,000 blue-collar workers each year to better understand what drives quality and dependability in our workforce. The survey shows when looking for a new job, the initial pay rate, job security, and safety while working are the most important factors for hourly workers. If you're an employer and would like to learn more about the voice of the blue-collar worker, please call us at 904-528-1933.
What a week of football and betting it was last week. Mia here, and if you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. Another huge week of college and NFL games on tap, and it begins on Thursday. Get signed up now for a little Sunbelt Funbelt college matchup. Texas State, a 2-touchdown favorite, headed to Troy. This is the Funbelt, though, so we will take the over 58 points on that total. For Thursday night in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Atlanta, where they open as 2.5-point underdogs to the Falcons. I take a long, hard look at betting the Bucs with the points and parlay that over 43.5 on the total. For a limited time, MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 1st, 1961, New York Yankees slugger Roger Maris hits his 61st home run, becoming the first player in Major League Baseball to hit more than 60 in a season.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
Roof damage? Call before you claim. Green Law Group, fighting insurance companies for you. They will work for you when you have roof damage. Don't let your insurance deny you. Don't call an adjuster. Call Green Law Group at 904-302-7055. Remember, if you have roof damage, call Green Law Group before you claim. They've settled millions and will work hard to get your claim and new roof. Green Law Group. Call before you claim. 904-302-7055.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Tony Baselli on the hot button issue of who's calling plays.
The thing that drives me crazy, this whole play calling. Can we just settle it now? Press Taylor's been calling plays since 2022. And so why
did he just say that then?
I don't know. Pete, I agree with you. I don't think it was handled properly. When they went on the run, Press was calling plays. When they were 8-3 last year, Press was calling plays. And so, like, this whole thing, whether it's press, Doug, or like, can we just throw that aside? At the end of the day, they're not playing good football.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, Monday on Jaguars Happy Hour. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Thanks again to Rick for joining us to talk all things Seminoles. Look,
Poor Rick.
I know. If you're a Noles fan, it's tough right now.
We started this. We need to give some more love to the Noles this year, and then this has just been the worst year to start this.
Yeah, that's what the audience told us. They wanted more of Florida State, and there's a reason for that because Florida State was 13-0 last year, and of course, a lot of us here graduated from the University of Florida, and so people feel like we don't spend as much time on Florida State as we should. So now we spend time on Florida State, and there's one win for the Seminoles this season. And look, I agree with Rick. I don't think we've seen anything from Brock Lynn that tells you that he's going to all of a sudden take over and FSU's going to perform well. But if he does, if Florida State is competitive with Clemson Saturday night in Tallahassee, if Florida State, God forbid, wins that football game, then I think you look even more into Mike Norvell and the coaching job he's done this season and say,
why did it take you so long?
Right. He was playing the wrong guy all along, which a lot of us thought going into the season, DJ Uyunglele is not the answer at quarterback. But if Brock Lynn somehow, some way finds more success with this offense as bad as it has been, then you're even angrier at Norvell.
And that's one thing with their situation is you knew who DJ Uyunglele was when he came to Florida State. Like, he is the product. He's in year 5. You know who DJ is. You know his strengths. You know his weaknesses. You know it wasn't going to – most people truly were like, there's no way it's going to be this – Jordan Travis anywhere close to it. Some people just thought because they thought the defense was going to be so good that he wasn't going to have to do too much. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the circumstance. Like, it hasn't been just DJ. There's been a lot of issues. Honestly, the wide receivers have been underwhelming. The run game isn't there. The offensive line has had its struggles. The defensive line has had all their struggles. So there's a lot of issues across the board. And then you throw the coach in there, which people now are starting to think, okay, was it all Jordan Travis? And so that's a conversation. But yeah, when it comes to Brock Lynn, I mean, he threw 4 passes the other day and didn't complete a single one of them. And then last year when he had to come in, it was a decent amount of yards, but I think he only had 0 touchdowns and two or 3 interceptions during that time. So it wasn't like you're looking at this product that's like, he's going to save us, but sometimes that change at least just gives some sort of positive momentum in the fact of like, okay, this wasn't working, so maybe just like a little bit of a change can help. But yeah, if Brock looks anywhere like the glimpses that we've seen, this isn't going to help. And you are looking at your young guy, I think, pretty soon.
Are you telling me that those 5 Alabama transfers weren't the cure-all? Are you saying that wasn't the antidote to resolve the fact that they lost 13 players to the NFL, 11 to the NFL draft, all of whom were impact players, many of whom came via the transfer portal?
Yeah.
And I know for Rick, this is an emotional subject because it is alma mater. But big picture here, let's go beyond Florida State. Let's still keep it in Tallahassee. If Mike Norvell, which he will, be around next year, if Mike Norvell does hit in the transfer portal next year, if he is able to recreate and resummon what he generated in terms of a talent pool between 2022 and 2023, then all of a sudden they could be competitive again. And so that's my bigger question here. Is this simply Florida State is the first example in this transfer portal era of you can, for lack of a better term, buy and build your own team for a short-term 2-year window, then go to obscurity, only to then hit again the next year or the following year after that? Is that a trend we anticipate seeing big picture in college football?
Why, if you're an elite player in college football this year and you enter the transfer portal, why would you go to Florida State? Before there was a reason to go to Florida State because you had Jordan Travis and other guys that have proven that they can make Florida State really good. But now, and money, I think money's, from what I understand based off of listening to guys like Denny Thompson who are in this world, money is going to be paid at whatever school. Like Miami's certainly spending a lot of money this year. Ohio State's spending a ton of money. Ole Miss is spending a ton of money. It doesn't have to be certain schools that can outspend others. Like if you think that's going to be the guy, you're going to spend the money. The fan base will, the school will. and the boosters certainly will. So I just don't know why right now. And look, this isn't a Florida State only thing. Florida too. If Napier's fired and Florida has another losing season, which everyone expects at this point in time, why would you jump in the transfer portal and go there?
Yeah, well, number one, I think if they feel like they have a quarterback answer, that's why. If, let's say, this Brock Glenn thing doesn't go well and we do start seeing glimpses of Luke, they put Luke in and you're seeing these positive things out of Luke, that is probably their savior, honestly, because they'll say, look, we just had the wrong quarterback, but we do have him. He's just young. And so if you come here, we're building this team that now, again, does have a quarterback. And when they had a quarterback, they were pretty dang good. And so that's what, and I asked Rick that a couple weeks ago when it came to, I felt like a lot is being put on Mike Norvell. But I also think if you look around college football, like most teams aren't good if you don't have your quarterback answered. And it's the same with the NFL, too. Like you can have all of the other pieces, and if the quarterback's not right, things look really bad. And so it's weird to me that it's so much put on Mike, and I know some of the other things are the regression and maybe the defense and the trenches in general and stuff like that, but they lost 13 pieces into the NFL draft this year, including a guy like Jared Verse, who's already looking like a superstar. If you want to see how good Jared Verse actually is, go watch him play right now in LA, and he's really, really good, and you lost that in addition to Keon Coleman and in addition to all of these major pieces that were major factors, and, Jordan Travis, your quarterback who took you to that next level. So if Luke, how do you say his last name? Cromanhook is the right answer, I do think that changes things for them. And I do think they have a lot of work to do this offseason, but I also think the right quarterback and knowing that helps people want to come to that school.
I wonder if Jordan Travis was on this Florida State team right now, would they have more wins? I don't know.
Question.
Just because
I would say yes.
They probably could have won week 1 against Georgia Tech, certainly with a better quarterback. But, I mean, the way that they were handled against SMU, I don't know that Jordan Travis leads them to that victory in Dallas. Yes, a quarterback can make everything better for sure. But if everything's collapsing around a quarterback, then I just don't know that they'd be as successful as certainly they were when they had all those guys. Braden Fisk, too, out in
Fisk.
LA as
Both
well.
of them actually played really well right away.
Correct, yeah. So the larger conversation in college football, I think, is what is the correct blend of recruiting the 5 stars and the 4 stars and the transfer portal?
Yeah.
And we have to, I think the jury's still out because of what FSU is now going through, because of a program like Georgia who doesn't really need to use the transfer portal that much. Alabama with Kalen DeBoer now had to dip into the transfer portal more because they lost guys. Like, what is the
and
right
he brought
percentage?
guys with him, too.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
So it's not this school wins every year. I really thought for the longest time Georgia would be that school. They don't need the transfer portal because they recruit at an elite level. They're going to win every national championship. That may not be the case. And so whoever wins this year, is it Ohio State? Well, they went heavy in the transfer portal.
Correct.
Certainly. And so that's what's going to be fascinating.
And that's what I think. I think to your point, Lauren, I think it's a combination, obviously, that the answer is always somewhere in the middle. But certainly when it comes to what is the right balance between transfer portal and recruiting traditionally from high school. And that's where I look at Georgia and I say they're probably doing it the best of anyone. If you just want to go year over year since the transfer portal's adventation in 2021, they obviously have won 2 national titles since then. So that's the obvious answer. But I think that they've done a good job of, much like free agency in the National Football League, baseball, the NBA, right? You draft X amount of players, and let's say, well, this guy, for example, with the Jaguars, Ben Barch, the injury, it doesn't pan out. Okay, now we have to go out and we have to sign a right guard in free agency because we have to Band-Aid that situation, maybe draft a guy who we can develop, but that situation did not pan out. And I think you're seeing the same thing at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
If you look at some programs where, maybe you signed 3 wide receivers right out of high school, one of them transferred because they want to be closer to home. The other 2 both took medical retirements early because of various injuries. And so now all of a sudden you're down 3 wide receivers, if only in the numbers game. So therefore you go out and you address it via the portal. At the same time, the hope is that you have a nucleus that you've been able to recruit, whether through JUCO or through matriculating seniors out of high school. And so those other position groups, you don't have to tap into the portal as much. But at the same time, Florida State is the prime example of if you go full bore and just go transfer portal across the board, you can win an ACC title.
Yeah, and I think that Saban said it best when he was on College Game Day that first week when he said, you have to pay the right people also. You can hand out all the money you want. Does that automatically transfer to being able to win football games? No, because you also have to get the right ones. You have to get the ones that fit. You have to get the ones that, when it comes to the new scheme that they're playing, all of these things kind of have to factor in. A team to me that I feel like has figured it out when it comes to the balance, and this is recently at least, is Texas. I mean, Texas, when you look at their team, they have 6 transfers. The rest are all guys that they've built from within. And the 6 transfers, though, are their 2 receivers that are really good. They've been able to, obviously, you have a quarterback that is good in Quinn Ewers, and then another one that's been sitting there waiting for his chance who also looks good in Manning. They've also just been able to pump out running backs, and maybe that's a Texas thing because they can recruit everybody there and get all these running backs because a lot of them do come out of Texas. But they feel like they found the recipe of that balance of what works, of which positions groups maybe have worked best for them when they hit the portal and which ones they've been able to develop. And fortunately for them, they've been able to develop running backs, quarterbacks, and offensive line.
And it is nice when you have the 2 great quarterbacks, because Quinn Ewers transferred from Ohio State way back when, and then Arch Manning, when Quinn's been hurt, has been able to step in, and he looks fantastic. Some schools, like FSU, would love to have one 5-star quarterback that plays to that level. All right, so when we return, we have a giveaway today, a special giveaway. We'll have our Chick-fil-A giveaway in a little bit, but we've got that for you. Also want to continue the football and Jaguars conversation, NFL conversation overall. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday. It's 1010X on 92.5 FM.
Duval. That's right, I'm Tommy Mack, and it's all about Duval and defense. Offense, special teams, baby. Check me out every Friday from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. What is a gemologist?
Frank, that's a good question, because gemologist is a generic title that can be used by anyone, whether they have any gemological training or not. There's also a graduate gemologist, which is somebody that's taken the gemology courses of the Gemological Institute of America and received a diploma. Then there's a certified gemologist of the American Gem Society. They've received the graduate gemologist diploma, have worked in the jewelry business for a minimum of 3 years, and are tested by examination once a year to re-win the certified gemologist title. There's one other aspect that certified gemologists have that others might or might not have, and that's the accredited gemological equipment to be able to make the right grading calls on diamonds and other gemstones. At Underwood's, we have an American Gem Society accredited gem laboratory that our certified gemologists work in, assuring you the quality and value you deserve.
That's Underwood's, Florida's longest-standing member of the American Gem Society in San Marco, Avondale, the Shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year 1 rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year 1. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hacker here, and the celebration is getting closer than I expected. On my countdown to 100 pounds. I thought it would take me a lot longer, but I'm already at 98 pounds gone. 4.5 pounds down last week alone. Next week should be epic as I do what I never thought could be done just 6 months ago. Me losing 100 pounds. What's your Awaken 180 goal? Is it hitting a number? Is it losing weight without a life of medications? Or is it just feeling better? Whatever your goal is, bring it to Awaken 180 and ask them how fast you will reach it. But Hacker, I've tried other programs and diets before. Why will Awaken 180 work? It's simple, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. Remember, when I hit that 100-pound mark, we're going to celebrate. I'll keep you updated again next week, but I have a hunch I'll be crossing that 100-pound threshold. In the meantime, pick up the phone and make your own 180. Call 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing their new banana pudding milkshake that's here for a limited time to enjoy. The seasonal treat features Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on a classic. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Being the primary breadwinner in your marriage is a huge responsibility, but that doesn't mean you should continue to be the primary breadwinner after your divorce, too. The attorneys at the Florida Women's Law Group work hard to make sure you're not responsible for supporting your ex any more than necessary. I'm Heather Quick, owner and attorney. Learn how we can help at FloridaWomen'sLawGroup.com or call us 904-204-2359. Divorce for women, by women. Offices, Jacksonville and St. John's.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barra here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barra Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarriorOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barra Orthopedics.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Are you an experienced plumber or welder with MedGas certification and you're tired of being undervalued? It's time to make the move to local 234 plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. With the best pay in the business, you'll earn $36.50 an hour. With benefits, that's almost $50. It's not just a job, it's a career that values you. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
Stay in touch with the stars of Coral Gables.
From South Beach to Jacks Beach. Stay on A1A for the latest from Miami on the Hurricane Report.
Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
On 1010XL.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Riddle Wellness. Inside Seminole football, FSU quarterback DJ Uiagalelei's injury from their game Saturday against SMU will keep him out from their primetime matchup against Clemson this weekend. Backup QB Brock Glenn will be the starting quarterback. As the Noles prepare for Clemson, head coach Mike Norvell spoke on the issues they've had on defense and what they need to do to improve.
We got to eliminate the explosive play. Obviously, I thought we're still, too loose in areas there in the run game. We got to make sure that we set the edge and guys are aggressive to setting the edge of a defense, because too many times the ball got outside when we have people that are in position and need to go force to get it back to everybody else, and just a little bit too much hesitancy when it came to that.
It's 86 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
This band, it's because they are playing tonight at the Constellation Furyk and Friends benefit concert. Brothers Osborne takes the stage. at Daly's Place this evening. If you want to go, be call number 4 at 641-1010. Call number 4, 641-1010. And we have 6 tickets. That's right, 3 pairs of tickets to give away for you. I've seen Brothers Osborne at Daly's Place before.
I was about to ask if you
Fantastic. So good. They're brothers. Hence, Brothers Osborne.
What's the name of the band? What's the singer's name?
What's the lead singer of the Zach Brown band? That would be Zach Brown, Taylor.
Interestingly enough, to kind of take our Heeligans behind the curtain as we begin the 1 o'clock hour, of course, we so appreciate our friends at Constellation Pyrrhic and Friends, and we're so excited to party with them Friday for the opening round of tournament play at Timuquana. But in working with them as one of the media sponsors, it came to light that apparently Brothers Osborne has lots of people that they work with who misspell Osborne.
Oh, yeah, the Osborne.
And so to the point that like they actually have a policy when you do anything with them of if you misspell Osborne, which is Osborne, as opposed to
with
OS.
a U.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I guess they have enough people that that spell it that way that they've had to like put that into writing, which I found fascinating. As someone who's been called Maya, I think like 50% of my life, and Mia for some reason gets misspelled too. But hey, listen, apparently I didn't realize it was that hot button of a last name that there were multiple ways to spell it.
It's funny because my best friend that lives in Virginia, her name is MIA, but she's Maya.
Yeah.
And everyone always calls her Mia. So it's like whatever it is, they're going to say it the opposite.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun concert tonight. Starts at 7 p.m. at Daly's Place, and Philip Phillips takes the stage first, followed by Brothers Osborne again. Like Mia said, super excited to be there on Friday at Timuquana, and it's always a fantastic golf tournament there. 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They, of course, have big screen TVs, so you can watch football if you want. Maybe you don't want to watch football. You just want to watch golf.
If you want to get away
can
from
understand
football.
that. Yep, absolutely. It's always a good time there at Timuquana. All right, so we started our conversation today on the show about the Jaguars-Vikings. Vikings are 4-0, Jaguars are 0-4. Which is more surprising? Taylor, you said that the Jaguars are 0-4. Mia, what was your answer?
No, definitely the Jaguars being 0-4 is more surprising. I was very, very high on the Vikings to begin with, and that was even prior to the J.J. McCarthy injury. I thought Sam Darnold would be the starter. I really, in my heart of hearts and from talking to people, felt that J.J. McCarthy would take a redshirt year, much like Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he'd get in later in the season, but that their plan was to ride Sam Darnold. And people around the league were very high on that union between Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold. And obviously their hand was forced because McCarthy goes down for the season. Yeah. So there's no question who the starting quarterback is, which honestly is probably for the better, because I can't even imagine, even with Sam Darnold performing how he is, the questions of, you saw it with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love, for crying out loud. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm sorry, Taylor, is the top 10 quarterback of all time. And so, that is not surprising to me. The fact that they're 4-0 is impressive. And now they got to go across the pond. And speaking of, play Aaron and the Reeling Jets.
He's having a rough time. It's so fun to watch.
Sam Darnold gets to take on the team that drafted him in the Jets. And Josh McCown, the quarterback coach there in Minnesota, is the reason that Sam Darnold's there. As soon as they decided to move on from Kirk Cousins, he said, we got to get Sam Darnold, who spent a year, of course, behind Brock Purdy there with the 49ers. And they've had such a good relationship, and clearly it's working. And you have to wonder, does Sam Darnold have more support than Trevor Lawrence does? Is that why things are working? Because the scheme is better and he has better weapons, he has a better line, all those things.
Let me ask you this, Lauren. Define the word support.
Yeah, support to me means every single person in the building, defense included, is going to do everything they can and pour everything they have into making the quarterback better. Mm-hmm. That's how I would say it. You devise the offense in order to make the quarterback look good. You pour extra resources into the line. You make sure you have the best weapons possible, and you give all of your emotional support to the quarterback as well. Right now, we have the head coach calling out the quarterback. I'm not saying that's the reason the Jaguars are 0-4, not 4-0. But you just wonder, are there cracks in the fissure versus everyone being all in?
The idea of all rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, and I think that, I feel like the easy, obvious answer is yes, because it's working well there. Everything they're doing, Minnesota, when it comes to offensively especially, and I think that probably one of the better things they did this offseason, which We've noticed that teams around the league who got running backs who've upgraded their running back room, as much as we talked so much about it's a dying breed in the running backs and don't pay them anymore. There were several that got paid the last couple years. Those several that got paid have made differences on the teams that they're at. And now we're in this league where it almost feels like we're going back to you have to be able to run the ball efficiently. Aaron Jones has been able to do that for them. But when you look at somebody, I mean, from top to bottom, he has 68.9 completion percentage, 11 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. And by the way, he's not getting touched. He's been sacked 11 times. So it's not like it's perfect and he has all day and he can just chill back there and, take his time. He's still having to make these decisions and make the right decision. And so I do think that because of that, it does feel like they set him up and they're supporting him more for success than what is happening here.
Well, the reason I asked for you guys to define the word success or support, is because he also has Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's be real here. Like, that is a game changer. But I also would argue, and I know, Lauren, you would too, Trevor Lawrence has plenty of weapons here.
He does. I don't think he's ever had as many weapons as he does now because he has both the intermediate guys and he has the field stretchers too.
Yeah.
I don't know if Gabe Davis is what I thought he was going to be here.
Yeah, definitely not for me.
And it's 4 weeks in, so things certainly could change. Everyone wants to talk about how Trevor missed the throws, and he did. But feel free to catch the ball if you're Gabe Davis in the end zone, and things, again, could be different. But yes, Trevor has more weapons than he's ever had. But is the system and the scheme, is that the best that it could be for him? And if it's not, well, that's partially on Trevor too, because in the offseason, you could have said, this is not what's worked for me. The last half of last year, I was injured, but the offense didn't work really even in the beginning of the season when I wasn't injured. So that's on all parties. And do I think Sam Darnold has the leverage in Minnesota to be able to do that? No. But I think that they understood what they were getting in him. And he did sit a year behind Brock Purdy in the Shanahan system too. Yep. So he understands probably how to view the defenses, read the defenses, evaluate all that stuff very quickly because of his time spent there.
Yeah, and I agree. I think and this has been the argument for a lot of people too, we've heard Tom Brady talk about it. We've heard Kevin O'Connell now talk about it, about that maybe some quarterbacks really need that time to sit and learn and develop. And Trevor didn't ever have that, and not only that, but he got thrown into, obviously, the disaster that was the Urban Meyer year. And so that also, I think, can halt certain things. The thing is, it looked like you were okay. And that's what I think is alarming to some people, that it was like you were already on this trajectory where people were talking about, okay, like Trevor Lawrence coming out party against the Chargers, like this is it. It's only going to get better. That's why they were so hyped the offseason, and it's gone backwards. And to me, that backwards is directly correlated to the guys above him.
Yeah, and by the way, if we want to talk about coaching staff, certainly Kevin O'Connell deserves a lot of praise. Wes Phillips is the offense coordinator up there. Do you know who the quarterback's coach is in Minnesota?
We just talked about it.
Josh McCown.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. I was pulling that up because
he's the reason that Sam Darnold's in Minnesota.
Right. Sorry. That's. I was listening to you, but I was also trying to wrap my head around the fact that Josh McCown was run out of town, not only as a coach but as a player. How many times over? And again, I think
it was his brother that was on the tractor, Luke McCown.
Yes, Luke McCown was on the tractor, right? But Josh McCown with Carolina and how that went down, it's interesting. It's just interesting to me of like people who maybe it didn't work somewhere else, but it can work all together when you are rowing in the same direction.
And honestly, the Panthers had to do what they had to do last year because of the things that the way things looked. But you can also go back and kind of be like, was Josh McCown the answer, or did they kind of just give up? He was the QB coach in Carolina, and obviously Bryce Young wasn't where they wanted to be. The offensive line was terrible. They had no weapons. And then you fire somebody after one season of that. Interesting to me. It looks like the Panthers might have probably made the wrong choice on that at this point.
As far as having,
he was also. Oh yeah, Sam Darnold wasn't there. They missed each other by a little bit.
But yeah, it's not as black and white as we like to make it because it's easier when everything fits in a box. And here in Jacksonville, nothing's fitting into the box. In Minnesota, everything's working out perfectly again through just the first 4 games. But you have to just dig deeper and figure out, why are certain quarterbacks having success? Why is Stafford having way more success in Los Angeles than he did in Detroit?
It's a great question. That's honestly.
Why is Jared Goff having way more success in Detroit than he was in Los Angeles?
That's very true. But I think both of those need to be case studies. Again, we don't want to write the Jaguars season off completely, even at 0-4. But I think that those are case studies that we are going to have to dive into more in the weeks and months ahead. Because how did it work out why did it not work for Matthew Stafford in Detroit? why did things fall apart for Jared Goff at the end in LA, but now they are both finding success?
Well, I think the easy answer, Taylor, to me is that they both are successful quarterbacks. It worked to their advantage to have a bit of a fresh start. People had given up pretty much on Goff in Los Angeles, even though he had taken them to the Super Bowl. They weren't good at all in that game. And Stafford, I think, just needed a change of pace. And if Stafford had stayed in had stayed in Detroit, did they ever win a Super Bowl? Probably not, because Detroit still doesn't have one. Yeah. But does Goff maybe win one with the Rams because of McVay? Perhaps.
Yeah. And that's what I want to say directly, Sean McVay. But also, Matthew Stafford's incredible, and he's been incredible even when he was in Detroit. So that was one thing that I never understood is the hate on Matthew Stafford, because he's always been one of the better quarterbacks. The problem is the Detroit was in such a bad spot. They didn't have anything else. You had your years with Megatron and Bush, and those, they were competitive, but they never put a final product on. What they started doing when Matthew Stafford left is building an offensive line to protect their quarterback.
Zero.
Yeah, they started all over, and they didn't
started biting kneecaps.
Yeah, Dan Campbell, just the energy he brought into the Lions facility in general. But when you go back and you look at even Matthew Stafford's most recent, before he left to LA, he was throwing for over 4,000 yards. He barely had his season under 4,000 yards. The one year when he was I remember him being his absolute best during this time. I mean, he was throwing for 5,000 yards and 41 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Matthew Stafford was never the problem in Detroit. Matthew Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and people just didn't get to see that because he was in Detroit.
And he also didn't have any weapons. Yeah. So now the inverse of that.
If you're Jared Goff, by the way, and you're a perfect passer last
18
night,
for 18.
and you don't get the game ball, how frustrating.
And he caught a pass, by the way.
He did also.
Correct.
Yeah.
So speaking,
Amon-Ra St. Brown said, thank you very much.
Exactly. So, which he's the emergency quarterback there, which speaking of, that is the part of this that we can also bring back to Jacksonville, the other side of that trade. At least from the outside, did it not feel like the love affair between McVay and Jared Goff, the synergy, it had evaporated, at least towards the end of that marriage?
It did. And I think that, to me, that is you don't see it often in the NFL where it's a true win-win for each side. That is one of the most win-win trades I think we'll ever see, because I think both parties are happy at the end. At the end of the day, that both parties are like, hey, we won in this. And even Detroit, they're wanting to now. You still want to see a Super Bowl. That Matthew Stafford and the Rams got their Super Bowl out of it, and Detroit is hoping they get to that level. But there's no Detroit fan that is they love Matthew Stafford. They think he's a fantastic human being. They love him. But Jared Goff coming here and them being like, okay, we have this new young quarterback, let's reset everything, was the best thing that could have happened to the Lions.
So your question is leading into Mia. Is Doug Peterson's love affair with Trevor Lawrence over?
Dwindling.
And I think if you watch the press conference
they have a bad romance
on Sunday after the game, you certainly would have felt that. And then you watch yesterday's press conference, and it's totally different.
And look at what that relationship, the synergy. Well, I won't say relationship, because I'm sure Sean McVay and Jared Goff, I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm sure they're still very cordial, still friends. But in terms of the synergy, it had evaporated. And so at that juncture, it was best for both parties to go their own ways. And guess what? They both found success. Yeah. I think they both still root for each other as long as they're not playing each other. And that's okay. At times, it's just that there's a moment where you say, this isn't working anymore and we need to make a change, because what must be done eventually should be done immediately.
Yeah.
And if I'm Goff, I'm pissed. You called Stafford to meet you in Cancun if you're McVay.
Right.
To court him to Los Angeles, and you gave up on me.
And
I wouldn't have a cordial relationship
maybe that's
with
the
him anymore.
extra fiery under him that we've seen out of Jared Goff, because you saw good Jared Goff, but you've seen great Jared Goff in Detroit. And maybe that's what he needed, though, was that, okay, well, I'll show you that I can be that quarterback that maybe you thought I couldn't be.
Right. And if this season's not over, then somehow, some way, we need to see great Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
That is the main
thing
that could change it.
Right.
around.
Or if things do continue down the path they're on, will it be I need to succeed in spite of my previous coaches and in spite of this image that has now been put out there of me because of what my resume said I was in that offensive system?
You're saying, does Trevor...
Yeah, could
does
Trevor
the fire
use that?
get lit under Trevor to prove people wrong?
Correct.
Certainly, we hope that the season turns around.
We're waiting.
And we're talking about, at least a few wins on the record, on the schedule in the next few weeks. All right, Taylor Dahl has a tangent when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday.
helmets and heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda dealers. In every game, there's a limited number of drives.
On best, here we go.
And there's only one drive of the game.
That's a good old-fashioned rear end whipping.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game on 1010XL.
At Hodges Mazda, we are proud of our solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. Lauren Brooks here as your hometown Mazda dealer. Our high customer service standards and our huge inventory of new and used cars provide our customers a consistently first-rate buying experience. Our professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interests first without exception, and every vehicle purchased from Hodges Mazda comes with 2 years free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
What a week of football and betting it was last week. Mia here, and if you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. Another huge week of college and NFL games on tap, and it begins on Thursday. Get signed up now for a little Sunbelt Funbelt college matchup. Texas State, a 2-touchdown favorite, headed to Troy. This is the Funbelt, though, so we will take the over 58 points on that total. For Thursday night in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Atlanta, where they open as 2.5-point underdogs to the Falcons. I take a long, hard look at betting the Bucs with the points and parlay that over 43.5 on the total. For a limited time, MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
The Money Pages brings you this week's Red Zone featured player of the week. Number 41, Jaguars defensive end Josh Hines-Allen. Josh played college ball for the Kentucky Wildcats and was drafted by the Jags 7th overall in 2019. Make sure to pick up this week's Jags game program with a commemorative ticket of Josh Hines-Allen inside. Download the Money Pages app for weekly specials. Money Pages, official sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, Hicken here with a message from Zero Res. Can you believe they've been cleaning carpets in Jacksonville now for 20 years? Dave Benyon, his family, and staff are so grateful of things and appreciate you, their great customers. In fact, October's birthday month for Zero Res. So what are we doing for customers? Just say happy birthday, Zero Res, and we'll give you $50 off. That's $50 off carpet, towel, and grout, upholstery, or area rugs. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Your car is like part of your family. It takes you to work, drops the kids off at school, goes with you on vacation. You feel safe in your car, but all that can change in an instant due to someone else's carelessness. Now you need money for medical bills, car repairs, lost wages. You need help, and you need it now. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us at 396-5555. Farah and Farah, protecting you and your family since 1979. Jacksonville.
The Golf Club of Southampton has plenty going on, from a great round to a round with your buds, soaking up some football and great grub. Every Saturday and Sunday at Southampton, enjoy their game day special. Wings tossed in your favorite sauce and a cold pitcher of beer. Membership opportunities to take advantage of, too. Join Southampton with a paid initiation, and you'll get a $500 gift card. Perfect for golf, pro shop purchases, or the clubhouse. Check it out. It's all happening at the Golf Club of Southampton.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
There's something special about football under the Friday night lights.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists Friday Night Lights.
Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning on 1010XL.
Jacksonville contractors and business owners, do you need custom large metal fab gates or automatic gate controls? Frank Frangie here. Coyle & Sons has been in business in Jacksonville since 1927. They've earned the reputation of quality and specialized skill. Coyle & Sons are the ones trusted in Jacksonville by the top contractors, and they stand on their reputation when you need almost 100 years of commercial contractor experience. So call Coyle & Sons today at 904-356-4821, coiljacks.com.
This is Corona Premier. It's the light beer you didn't know was a light beer. Until right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Now, Corona Premier, an unexpectedly light beer.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Congratulations to Mike for winning the Brothers Osborne tickets. I have a feeling we'll have some more concert tickets to give away this week, so as always, be listening to Helmets and Heels. Right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent. Take it away.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
We were actually talking about this a little before this last break, but I'm just going to say two words, and it's Ben Johnson. Just give me a little bit of hope. Flatter me a little bit. It's been so much fun to watch what he's been able to do in Detroit. And we talk about, Jared Goff and how he's gotten better since he's been with the Lions too. And you have somebody like Amon-Ra who's incredible. He's so much fun to watch, and I love it. But the play calling, your quarterback catches a touchdown in a game. They do all of these fun things, but they don't make it seem like it's too complicated. They also are able to hit all of these easy passes in the middle. When you look at Jared Goff's little plot chart thing that he has, it's not some crazy wild thing that's going on, but they're able to scheme up so well. The defenses never know what is about to happen when you're facing the Lions. And I just think that that is the type of, we're talking about synergy, energy. That is the type of thing that you need here in Jacksonville. And we're starting to realize, Philly fans, yesterday I posted one of the quotes from I almost said Doug Marrone, from Doug Peterson about just kind of throwing some of the players under the bus recently. And the amount of Eagles fans in my mentions, we tried to tell you guys, this is exactly what he did here in Philly. They use the word selfish a lot. He's very selfish and will kind of turn things on. It's kind of seemed lately he's been a little sassy, a little snippy lately, where it's certain things you say and he'll immediately kind of roll his eyes and say what he wants to say. And that happens, I guess, when you're losing. You start to see who a person really is in those type of situations. When adversity happens, you see the true side of people. But to me, what Ben Johnson and what he's been able to do with this offense, and the whole question this whole offseason was okay, they have Amon-Ra, but who else? Doesn't matter. Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick, they also have Sam Laporta, obviously. But they're able to just keep going no matter what. And even in games, the first few games, people were like, are there concerns? If anything showed you what the Lions did, there's not concerns. Offensively, at least offensively. Defensively, I think they are looking at some things that there may be some issues. Seattle had over 500 total yards on them. And so that's clearly not what you want to see.
516.
Yeah, that's not ideal for, you don't want your defense to allow that. But Jared Goff yesterday is the first quarterback in league history to complete 100% or more for more than 10 attempts. And also, like I said, got a receiving touchdown. So not saying that if Ben Johnson came here, you would see all these quirky, crazy things right away, because they've now been together for a decent amount of time, obviously with the offense as a whole, with Goff and Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams and all of them. But I think you would see a lot of play calling that benefits Trevor in the best possible way. And that's what I think a lot of people are shouting for right now.
Yeah, last night, for instance, against the Seahawks, 7.8 yards per play for the Lions. You want to guess what the Jaguars' yards per play was on Sunday?
Well, the good news is they ran for 6.6 yards per carry. So
5.4.
Okay, that inflated the number a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I think there are a lot of people out there, Taylor, to your point, that are clamoring for a young offensive mind to come here. Whether it's Joe Brady in Buffalo, whether it's Ben Johnson, up there in Detroit, you name a young Cliff Kingsbury, offensive coordinator in Washington.
Is he still considered young? I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
kidding.
I say younger than 50, I guess, is maybe
not
like
72.
And certainly not a Belichick, who's a defensive-minded guy anyway. And
Cliff's 45, man.
Yeah, see, that's why I say under 50.
I feel old.
But yeah, I think people are, especially if the Jaguars continue losing, people are going to, there's a fraction of the fan base that's shouting it now, but I think even the larger majority will start to really shout from the rafters and say changes need to be made. And of course, Jaguars fans specifically want both head coach and GM out. Other teams around the league, I think, can be more specific. Like they may actually really like their head coach. They may just not like what the GM's giving them. But here, people would want a clean sweep.
So here's the thing. Like obviously the headliner from last night's Monday Night Football, the second game of the doubleheader with the Lions and the Seahawks, is obviously the fact that they went 19 of 19 in the pass game between Jared Goff is 18 of 18. Amon-Ra St. Brown throws a 7-yard touchdown pass. So that's obviously the headliner. But I think equally an important part of it, and Taylor, you hit on this earlier, is that run game. And so Jahmyr Gibbs, 14 carries for 78 yards. David Montgomery, 12 carries for 40 yards, 3 touchdowns between the two of them. It's not like either of them went over 100 yards. So much of that play calling and so much of that offensive design is simply recognizing, you know what? We have to keep pounding the rock and we have to be situationally aware of when we should and we should not. So I mentioned those stats. On Sunday, yes, in a loss, Travis Etienne, 11 carries for 50 yards. Tank Bigsby, 7 carries for 90 yards, which if you're keeping score, that's the most between all 4 of those running backs that I listed. Certainly a 58-yard run is part of that. But we also saw a 20-yard run for Jahmyr Gibbs, a 13-yard run for David Montgomery that felt like a lot more. The point I'm getting at is, and it's the same conversation we had when the Jaguars were preparing to face the Buffalo Bills. James Cook has had one 100-yard game in his last 12 games. We don't need to see this idea of you're running a running back into the ground and that is your bell cow, or even if it's a two-headed monster, you are so focused on running the ball. I think running the ball is part of the Lions' identity. Again, Jared Goff only threw the ball 18 times. Yes, he was perfect, 18 of 18, but he only threw the ball 18 times. You don't have to drop back 40 times a game. You also don't have to run the ball 50 times a game. There needs to be some sort of perfect balance between the two. And if all of these other teams in the National Football League are figuring it out, what is the common denominator that is allowing these teams to do so?
Yeah, and we talked about the using your backs in the right time. When we talk about here with Tank and ETN and when to use them, when's beneficial for each side, I'd say not using Tank for an entire fourth quarter is probably not the way to go because the way that, and that's another thing that works, is because of Jahmyr Gibbs and because of David Montgomery. They are a little bit different style backs too, so they use them so perfectly in the right situations, and that's why it goes so well. But when you go to the efficiency of the offense, and I think that's what sticks out to me for when it comes to the Lions the most, because when you look at 71% completion percentage, obviously the 100% helps that last night a lot. But passing yards, so they have the 3rd highest completion percentage. They have the 5th highest passing yards. He has 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, so it's not even like that's some magnificent number, but the efficiency when it comes to converting those third downs and in the red zone. And then you go over to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they have the 2nd worst completion percentage in the league, and they have the 6th, 7th worst, at least yards in the league, and they have 4 touchdowns and 1 interception. So it's like
top three running outfit though. Somehow, some way, despite the least amount of attempts.
Yeah, the problem is the issues and the efficiency when you need them the most. When you're on the 7, when you're on the 3, you can't score, and that's issues.
The Jaguars are allergic to scoring points in the fourth quarter so far this season.
Yeah, they have 3
points in 4 fourth quarter contests. All right, we've got lunch for 2.
We do. Lunch on the ladies, lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 2.
I like it. We have one segment to go on an Active Health Jacks Tuesday. You can find them online at activehealthjacks.com, or you can give them a call 904-296-0202. If you are in pain, they can help you. Trust me. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLSconsumeraccess.org.
Mia here, and folks, it may be October. It's still hot outside. And that means your AC better be blowing nice and cold on the inside. If for any reason it's not, my friends at Duck Duck Air Conditioning are here to help. Their qualified service techs can handle any type of cooling issue at your home or business. So don't deal with the summer heat outside and inside. Give Duck Duck AC a call today to schedule service. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck AC is a licensed mechanical contractor.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Are the company's Zoom calls getting boring? Might be a good time to order some new logo caps or temporary tattoos. Check them out online at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Kuhn Flowers and 1010XL encourage you to help those devastated by Hurricane Helene in the Big Bend area of Florida. Kuhn's will be sending a relief truck to Perry, Florida Friday morning to encourage you to stop by their Beach Boulevard location to donate tarps, blankets, first aid kits, bottled drinking water, diapers, flashlights, laundry detergent, towels, and toilet paper. Any amount will help and is appreciated. Their truck leaves Friday morning, so stop by Kuhn Flowers, Beach Boulevard with your donations today.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
The experts at AMCO have been fixing cars for almost 60 years. Over that time, they've gotten more complex than ever. That's why our techs undergo rigorous training and certifications, so they can fix anything, including the most complicated repairs that come with some of the latest technologies. After 60 years, there's nothing we haven't seen or fixed. It's how we know cars inside and out.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at AMCOJacksonville.com.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
It's about the hunt.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Lagerman. We take you from the water to the woods.
On the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Let's go to the woods, y'all.
Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Cyber threats don't take timeouts. Protect your business with DoubleCheck Cybersecurity's AI-powered solutions. Get 24/7 defense and stop hackers before they score. Don't wait. Visit doublecheck.com to schedule your free security consultation today.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser got into a hot debate this morning on Trevor Lawrence.
He has been a problem. His play has been a problem.
Yes, it has. But again, and I get it for the quarterback, he gets it, but that's just not accurate. If the football team plays better, the 53, they're 3-1. Even how he played. Now, they shouldn't have to cover for their quarterback.
Yeah.
He's supposed to cover for them.
Yeah.
And that's where he may not be the reason they're losing, but he's not the reason they're winning. And that's a problem. I'm not ready after 4 games of the 2024 season, a season that's not going to go right. It's going to go 6-11. I'm not ready to say, oh, my God, we need a new quarterback. He's terrible, unfixable.
I'm not either.
Okay.
But this is year 4. When are you going to be ready to say that? Never?
I don't know.
I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
All right, so we do have an interesting semi-new news story. We'll get to that in just a little bit after we cool down here on an Jack's Health Tuesday. Words are hard today, ladies.
You got it. I believe in you.
Also, finding synergy is hard. That's my takeaway from today's program. Synergy. It's a buzzword for certain. So was biting kneecaps once upon a time. But synergy is something that you need to not only have between your play caller and your quarterback, but your entire operation. I think we did a very good job today, if I do say so myself, in outlining for you teams that are having success in the National Football League, and not just teams in this town, but teams across the league that are not having success. And much of it is due to, number one, not having a unified plan for the entire organization in which you are all rowing in the same direction, but also that idea of both play caller, personnel staff, the quarterback, everything you can possibly do to support that quarterback that fits the quarterback in his skill set as opposed to the offense that you actually want to run. That is how you find success in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ben Johnson. That's my takeaway from today. I feel like last year, and who knows? I mean, we talked about this a little bit, Mia. Does he want to take over? Does he want to be a head coach in the NFL? He said no last year. He turned down some jobs last year because he wanted to stay and be the offensive coordinator in Detroit. He feels like obviously they have something there. He loves the people he's working with. Dan Campbell seems like a fantastic, little bit crazy, but fantastic person to work for. Everything is meshing. Someone texted us earlier, like, is Mark Brunell still the QB coach? Yes. Go figure. But
really good soundbite from Tom Coughlin about Mark Brunell is now live on the 1010XL channels. Just as we bring up Marky Mark, just throwing that out there.
Perfect timing. So I think that, not saying that exact guy, but someone like that, someone who runs an offense in that way, a younger guy who can relate to Trevor and the style of offense that is flourishing right now in the NFL, which has clearly changed since even 2017, 2018. That's my takeaway for today.
My takeaway is that Brock Glenn is going to get the start in Tallahassee as the Knowles play host to the Clemson Tigers, and I don't know really what to expect. Certainly, we had Rick Ballou on earlier. He does not have high expectations for Brock Glenn, but if Brock Glenn somehow, some way is successful with this offense, if they can get the run game going, and Brock Glenn looks a lot more efficient than DJ Uyunglele, then I feel like Mike Norvell is on even a hotter seat. And again, he's not getting fired because of his contract, but you can be on a hot seat and still not be heading anywhere else for the next season.
Speaking of...
That's probably the worst seat to be on, honestly. The worst hot seat to have.
You're stuck burning alive.
Well said, Lauren. Speaking of things you should go check out on the 1010XL channels, we will have our weekly catch-up with Rick Ballou available on the 1010XL Seminoles channel a little bit later. And needless to say, the truth teller was out here spitting some truth. So make sure you go on over and you check that out. The new news that I was alluding to before we began our cool down, there has been a twist, a turn in the saga of a former Jaguar employee and his... what do we want to call it? His gambling addiction that may or may not have cost the Jaguars millions of dollars. Cue the X-Files music, RJ. Former Jaguars employee Amit Patel is now suing FanDuel for $250 million, claiming the sportsbook, quote, exploited his gambling addiction and intentionally ignored its responsible gaming and anti-money laundering protocols. In short... From the three of us quickly looking through what has been laid out there by ESPN and by Pro Football Talk, the biggest takeaway is that Patel's VIP host at FanDuel communicated with him as much as 100 times a day. On several occasions, he reached out when he was not gambling to find out why. He also moved certain texts to his personal phone to, quote, avoid detection by FanDuel's compliance personnel, and also, on one occasion, joined Patel on one of the joyride vacations he took with the money that he stole from the Jacksonville Jaguars when he oversaw their virtual credit card program.
100 times a day, up to 100 times a day. I don't talk to anyone 100 times in a day.
No, my phone's on Do Not Disturb most of the time, so I'm definitely not. But
we're well
also,
aware,
it's like say no. Like you're a grown person that you are able to say no to somebody when they're like, hey, why aren't you betting today? Well, because I stole a lot of money from people.
From my employer so that I could gamble more for you.
Yeah, I may not be in the best position to be gambling on games right now. And we were kind of talking about it off air too when it comes to they have all of these disclaimers when you like if you have a gambling addiction, there's different hotlines, there's different this. And I think that there maybe should, and it's never going to happen because these people, this is how these different sites make their money, obviously, is getting these people who do want to keep gambling. But there maybe should be in some way, Lauren, you said it, where it's like, hey, you've lost X amount of money in 2 months. Let's take a little break. Like, how about that?
I mean, I just think that when someone has an addiction, whether it's gambling to drugs to alcohol, whatever it is, there has to be some recognition from the company that's providing the service that that person doesn't have control at that point in time. And so, they have those disclaimers, which do absolutely nothing. Yeah. And so what's crazy, of course, about all of this is that it was over $22 million that Amit Patel was able to steal from the Jaguars. Like, that is just such a high number. It's not $5,000 that went missing. It's over $22 million. And so if I'm the judge and I get this lawsuit, I don't really care about what Brett Krause did at FanDuel.
That's the VIP host.
Yeah, he probably does get fired and lose his job. But if I'm a judge looking at this, it's not FanDuel's fault that you had the gambling disorder. You need to address that.
Also, it's $22 million from the Jags, but he's suing FanDuel for $250.
For $250 million?
Yeah, you always are going to go way higher than...
That's way higher, though, Lauren. I mean,
you're always going to do that.
We're talking 10 times as much. Thank you to one of our friends in Indiana on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. As someone who needs to lose weight, I'm going to sue McDonald's for exploiting me. That's where we're at.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. It's everybody, when we talk about all of the different addictions, the advertisement when it comes to beer and alcohol and things like that. And it's like, they're not going to not do that. It's just, it's their product, and it's up to you as the person to be able to realize when you have an issue and address that issue. And get some help with it, because clearly like he needed help anyways when you're stealing that amount of money from the place place of employment. Yeah.
If you can't handle it, delete the app.
And that's why I said, you're a grown person. You can make your own decisions. Addiction is serious. And so I don't want to like joke about that, because when it comes to obviously alcohol addiction and drug addictions, those are serious. And a lot of those are full on like mental at that point. And so I don't want to make it a joke in that light. But when you are losing X amount of money and your DraftKings guy or whatever, sorry, I'm not trying to call any particular, FanDuel guy is that comfortable with coming to you and saying, hey, why haven't you bet? Then the issue may be you. And let's talk about that.
In the words of Mark Long, hey, Dan, have you ever thought that maybe you're the problem?
One other thing that has to do with food, but not addiction. Have y'all seen the new Matthew McConaughey commercial with Christian McCaffrey?
Oh, I have not.
Oh, it's so fantastic.
Does it look like Matthew McConaughey?
Yes.
Okay, because there's rumors that there's like a fake Matthew McConaughey out there because people are like, he doesn't look the same in some of the live appearance. Yeah,
do we know where the real one is?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's him because he's got that excellent Southern drawl. So he's on the couch and he's telling Christian McCaffrey that football is just trying to make him hungry. And McCaffrey's like, that's not at all what's happening. He's like, oh, really? Like Refrigerator Perry? Refrigerator wasn't his real first name. And then Jerry Rice comes in and he's like, Jerry, what are you eating? And he's like, rice. See? Jerry Rice. Like there's other examples too.
That is funny.
And so it's fantastic. Google it if you haven't
Poor Christian McCaffrey. He's on the cover of Madden. He's in the commercials with McConaughey, and then, he has to go to Germany to figure out
an injury.
What the heck is wrong with him.
Yeah, they say now it's the Achilles tendonitis in both legs, not just one.
Oh, my gosh.
One more quickly on the Amit Patel front. 789, I'm suing the Jags for exploiting my heartbrokeness and false advertising. Listen, you guys can keep them coming.
Yeah, bring them in.
We've only got 5 minutes left of the program. 641-1010. Keep them coming. One other news note. Things also getting rather fascinating out in the desert. Devontae Adams, reportedly on the trade block, ? According to Vincent Bonsignor, who is one of the beat reporters out there for the Review-Journal out in Las Vegas, a league source with knowledge of the situation confirmed that the Raiders are growing open to the idea of trading Devontae Adams. The source said the club has begun reaching out to teams to gauge interest in the veteran. Deshaun Reed, formerly covered the Knowles out in Tallahassee, now covers the Raiders for The Athletic, and he says and reports that Devontae Adams said he hasn't heard from Antonio Pierce after the Raiders head coach liked an Instagram post insinuating Adams could be traded. When contacted by The Athletic about the matter, a Raiders spokesperson declined to comment.
I did see something about, Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, Robert Saleh, go get Devontae Adams or you're not going to have a job next year.
Devontae only has 18 catches for 209 yards and 1 touchdown through 3 games this season.
Ouch.
So it doesn't seem like things are going well there. I know once upon a time, everyone in Vegas was excited to have Derek Carr and Devontae Adams and thought that would go really great for them, but certainly not so much. It's going to be interesting, especially because Rashee Rice now out for the season with the ACL. Do the Chiefs try
they said
and
maybe
make a
not
trade?
an ACL? Did you see that?
Because it's not torn, but there's... I know. I was very confused as well.
Yeah, I was lost.
Yeah, if he's out for the season, then do the Chiefs make a trade to try and get a receiver help? I mean, you would think that would be smart for them.
Yeah, and I've already seen some of that floating around, obviously. There was some talk about the Bears they send Keenan Allen there to help them out. I don't see that happening, but I wouldn't be if Rashee's out for the season, they're have to figure something out. I mean, Xavier Worthy had obviously the game that we saw. He kind of becomes number 1, which you don't want your rookie wide receiver to have to be your number 1 wide receiver right away. So I feel like they'd almost have to. And I get you get Travis Kelce, but also Kelce doesn't even look like a normal Travis Kelce this year.
Well, because of the double teams, if you ask Andy Reid, they're giving him more attention. What, you don't believe in Justin Watson?
He's never been double teamed before?
I know,
Come on.
I know. You don't believe in Justin Watson or Juju or Mecole Hardman or, I don't know, second-round pick Sky Moore, Taylor Doll? I mean, come on now. They carried 7 wide receivers on their opening day roster for a reason.
Yeah. I remember, was it the preseason game? One of the Chiefs' preseason games, and the announcers said, oh, and you know who Mecole Hardman and Kadarius, because at this time Kadarius was on the field at that point, and he was like, you know who those 2 wide receivers can be, and the other commentator was silent. He goes, exactly. I was like, okay, well,
I mean, it does feel like Mahomes has always been able to figure it out, because a lot of us thought when he didn't have Tyreek Hill anymore, the offense can't be nearly as explosive.
Yeah.
And yet he's proven that he can take any receiver, any tight end, and elevate them. Even Noah Gray's good for the Chiefs, too, if Kelsey is double teamed. I read a really interesting, it's a long form article, but on ESPN with several different people contributing to it, but about the reason, and we've talked about this in several of your tangents, Taylor, is the idea of the offensive passing yards in the NFL being limited. And is it because of the too high safety? Other people think it's because of the fact that there are so many young quarterbacks now.
Yeah.
And we've seen the likes of Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees, Peyton Manning all exit the game. And so you've got a lot of guys with less experience. So that could be part of it too. People do maybe want to run the ball a little bit more, take time off the clock. So there's lots of different things that go into it. But I found the article fascinating because it's not just one thing that's contributing to it.
Yeah, and I think too the different style of quarterback you see now for the most part. And when you talk about a Tom Brady, when you talk about an Aaron Rodgers, when you talk about a Drew Brees, when you talk about a Peyton Manning, and Aaron Rodgers could use his legs. He's one of those guys who could move when he needed to, but most of those guys are kind of more, they're going to be standing in the pocket. They're going to throw for 40,000 plus yards because that's what they're doing the entire game. Now you're shifting to these quarterbacks that are like a Patrick Mahomes and a Josh Allen and a Jalen Hurts and even Justin Herbert to an extent, even Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is somebody that can move, and at times, honestly, I've said this before, I think they should draw up some more of those type of plays. You have these quarterbacks who are not getting maybe 5,000 passing yards, but they're having 400, 500, 600 rushing yards a season too, and 5, 6,
and
7.
that was another reason they pointed to too, is the mobile quarterbacks. And it's not that teams are necessarily running the ball more; it's that they've taken some of the running yards away from the running backs, and they've shifted it to the quarterbacks. Certainly, that's something to be following as we go through the rest of this NFL season. All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
Matt, we talked some Knowles earlier in the program. Does Dabo Swinney name the score in Saturday night?
I think Dabo wants to put a number up, just because of, Clemson is still playing off that Georgia loss. So I think the more they show that they're a competent offense and the more points they score, I think it's better off for them in their college football playoff future,
Do you, go ahead, Taylor.
No, go ahead.
Do you echo the truth tellers' sentiments of wholesale coaching staff changes in Tallahassee at the end of the season, outside of the head coach? Because they're married to the head coach.
I don't know if I'd go that far. Look.
You think a lot of this is just solely the quarterback?
No, I think it is. I think it's partly the quarterback. I also think he made the decision to build through the portal. He's recruiting better at he being Mike Norvell. He's recruiting better high schools. There's no doubt that they're recruiting better with high schools. But when you take that chance at rummaging through the portal year after year and trying to get guys that hit, those guys are in the portal for a reason. I say this all along. And there are a handful of guys that are elite. A majority of those guys are in there for a reason. They're the unloved and the unwanted, period. For whatever reason, they're in there. So you're taking a chance. That's what it is for me as much as anything. They've got to recruit better in the high school, just like Florida's got to recruit better in the high schools. How can you be the two main universities in this state, no offense to Miami, okay, in the state of Florida, which is one of the 3 best states in the nation for high school recruits, and not just nail it in recruiting? How do you let Ohio State come in and get players? How do you let Georgia come in? How do you let Alabama come in? How do you let Michigan come in? That's the problem right now in Florida and Florida State. They're not recruiting the state like they should.
Yeah, I've said that a few times because Florida has the most high school players drafted into the NFL in the last 10 years, and you don't see many of those out of Florida State, Florida in the last 10 years, honestly. Right. How do you feel about Cade Klubnik? Do you feel like he's gotten better each game?
Yeah, I think look, it's difficult for anyone to play against Georgia other than Jalen Milroe. Although Jalen struggled in the second half last week against Georgia. So that's a difficult ask for any quarterback, especially with a quarterback who's kind of finding himself. It's his second year with Garrett Riley. He's starting to figure it out now. I think he's going to play really well down the stretch. Now, what happens in the playoff if they get past the first round, they get to the quarterfinals, or they may even win the ACC and then they get a first-round bye. But we're going to see what happens once you get deep into the playoff if he's completely figured it out.
Leon's back today. He can talk all about that Friday night tilt between Miami and Virginia Tech. Was it a catch? Wasn't it a catch?
He was. I mean, if I could just let everyone understand the text string.
I was gonna say, are we allowed to put it up on the MyBookie Digital Studio live stream, just a glimpse? I know his one tweet kind of said it all.
He was not. He was not a happy guy. Let's put it that way. I like when they initially said Virginia Tech.
Yep.
I didn't even text anybody. I didn't text him. I didn't text JJ. I stayed away. And then finally, when it came back to now Miami wins, then the texting began again.
The floodgates opened at that point.
All right, thanks, Matt. We'll be listening. There he goes. XL Primetime comes up next for Taylor Dahl, for Mia O'Brien, for RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. Yeah. You keep lying when you ought to be truthing. And you keep losing when you ought to not.
Helmets and heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Mia here. What a week of football and betting it was last week. If you haven't bet with